In this video, we will explore a specific type of motion called uniform circular motion. First, we will describe the motion in terms of the linear and angular velocities of the object. The net force acting on the object and its acceleration will also be discussed. Then we will discuss some of the formulas that apply to an object moving in constant circular motion. Finally, we will demonstrate some of the common examples of circular motion, including objects in a stable circular orbit, conical pendulums, vertical circles, and vehicles turning on flat surfaces. An object is said to be moving in uniform circular motion if it has a constant speed as it moves in a circle with a constant radius. The period of motion, which is the time it takes to complete one revolution, is constant. The object has a constant angular velocity, omega, which is equal to the rate of change of the angular displacement. The tangential velocity of the object is called the linear velocity, and it's the velocity tangential to the path at any time. The linear velocity is related to the angular velocity through the formula linear velocity v is equal to angular velocity omega times the radius r of the circular motion. In one complete rotation, the object will have traveled a distance equal to the circumference of the circle, or 2 pi times the radius, in a time equal to the period. So the linear velocity can also be written as 2 pi r divided by t. If we recall the definition of linear acceleration as the rate of change of velocity and consider an object moving in constant circular motion, the speed of the object is constant, meaning the magnitude of the linear velocity is not changing. However, the direction of the linear velocity is changing as the object moves around the circular path. Since a vector comprises of both a magnitude and a direction, if the direction of the linear velocity vector changes, this is by definition still an acceleration. Because the speed of the object is constant, there cannot be a component of the acceleration vector in the direction of motion, and therefore the acceleration must always act perpendicular to the direction of motion. This acceleration is called the centripetal acceleration. There are two formulas to find the centripetal acceleration for an object undergoing circular motion. The acceleration is equal to the speed squared divided by the radius. And by substituting the formula for the linear velocity, we can see that the acceleration is equal to 4 pi squared times the radius divided by the period squared. According to Newton's second law, accelerations are caused by unbalanced forces. Because an object moving in constant circular motion is experiencing an acceleration pointing towards the center of its circular path, there must also be a net force acting towards the center of the circle. So the acceleration and the net force vectors point to the center of the circular motion and are perpendicular to the linear velocity at any point. Identifying the forces responsible for the centripetal force is essential in analyzing these situations. Circular motion can be used to explore the motion of vehicles as they turn. If we consider a car turning in a flat circle with a constant speed and radius, the net force creating the circular motion is the force of friction between the tires and the road. A free body diagram for the car will feature the friction force acting horizontally into the center of the circular motion, while the force of gravity acts downwards and the normal force acts upwards as seen in the side view of the car. Because the only force pointing into the center is the friction force, it must be equal to the net force. The force of friction is equal to the coefficient of static friction multiplied by the normal force, which in this case is equal to the force of gravity. Applying Newton's second law, we can substitute these relationships into the equation of motion and cancel the mass of the vehicle from the expression, to find that the acceleration will be equal to the coefficient of static friction times the gravitational field strength. To find the speed of the car, we can use the acceleration formula and substitute to solve for the velocity. Here, the velocity of the car as it makes the turn will equal the square root of the radius of the turn times the coefficient of static friction times the gravitational field strength. This will be the maximum speed for the car in this situation. Another common application is the conical pendulum, which is a mass attached to a string moving in a horizontal circle. The string makes an angle theta with the vertical. For a conical pendulum, the net force is directed towards the center of the circular path provided by the horizontal component of the tension force. A free body diagram shows the force of gravity acting down and the force of tension directed along the rope. Taking components of the force of tension will help understand the motion. Note that the components here are referenced from the angle to the vertical. The horizontal component of the tension will be the force of tension times the sine of the angle theta, and the vertical component will be the force of tension times the cosine of the angle theta. In the horizontal dimension, the only force acting is the horizontal component of tension, so this will be the net force acting on the mass. In the vertical dimension, the force of gravity will be balanced by the upwards component of the force of tension. We can use this relationship to find an expression for the force of tension. Applying Newton's second law, and substituting the expression in for the net force, we can replace the tension with the expression from the vertical components of the forces. Recognizing that the ratio of the sine of the angle to the cosine of the angle is the tangent of the angle, we can simplify this expression further by cancelling out the mass of the object and arrive at the formula for the acceleration of a conical pendulum. It's equal to the gravitational field strength times the tangent of the angle. If we take this relationship for the acceleration and substitute the acceleration formula for an object undergoing circular motion, we can then simplify this expression for the speed of the conical pendulum. So the speed of the conical pendulum is equal to the square root of the radius times the gravitational field strength times the tangent of the angle theta. Another common application is the vertical circle. There are a number of versions of this type of motion, but let's consider a mass on a string. Here, the net force is the vector sum of the force of gravity and the force of tension acting on the mass. If we consider the forces acting on the mass at the top and the bottom of its circular motion, the force of gravity will be constant in both positions and act downwards. But the force of tension will be different in magnitude and direction at the two locations because the net force is always directed towards the center. We set the direction of acceleration as positive for our analysis, and at any point, the net force is the vector sum of the force of gravity and the force of tension. Notice that because we are assuming a constant speed for the motion around the circle, the magnitude of this net force is the same for both locations and is pointing into the center of the circular motion, but the formulas are different. At the top, the net force is equal to the force of tension plus the force of gravity, but at the bottom, the net force is equal to the force of tension minus the force of gravity. Force of tension at the top is smaller in magnitude because the force of gravity is being subtracted from the net force, whereas at the bottom, the force of tension is larger because the force of gravity is being added to the net force. Once the net force has been found, Newton's second law can be applied. Substituting the expressions for the net force from the top of the circle and the bottom of the circle, we can come up with equations of motion for the mass at the top of its motion and at the bottom of its motion. We can then go on to substitute the acceleration formula for circular motion. Substitution of this acceleration formula into the expressions previously derived for the motion will allow us to solve for the speed of the mass, the tension in the string, or the radius of its motion, depending on what the question is asking. Because the force of tension is getting smaller as the object moves through the top of its circular motion, there's a limiting condition on the speed of the mass. The force of tension cannot be negative and must be 0 or higher. If the force of tension is equal to 0, then the mass is moving at the minimum speed needed to follow a circular path. This speed can be shown to equal the square root of the radius multiplied by the gravitational field strength. Let's consider a satellite undergoing a stable circular orbit around the Earth. In this case, the only force acting on the satellite is the force of gravity, so it's the net force acting on the satellite in its stable circular orbit. Because the satellite is at a high radius from the center of the Earth, the universal gravitational formula must be used to find this force of gravity. Substituting this force of gravity in for the force of gravity in Newton's second law, we can see that the mass of the satellite will cancel out of the equation. So the acceleration of the satellite in its circular orbit around the Earth is equal to the universal gravitational constant capital G times the mass of the Earth divided by the orbital radius squared. We could then go on to solve for the orbital period of the satellite by applying the acceleration formula, which is in terms of the radius of the orbit and the period of the orbit squared. Substituting this acceleration formula in, we can rearrange and solve for the orbital period of the satellite in its orbit around the Earth. Notice that the equation on the left leads to Kepler's third law, which states that the ratio of the cube of the orbital radius to the square of the orbital period is constant for an object in orbit. We could also solve for the orbital speed of the satellite by instead substituting the acceleration formula, that's in terms of the orbital speed squared, divided by the radius. By substituting this acceleration formula into our expression, we can rearrange and solve for the orbital speed. In summary, the definition of uniform circular motion occurs when an object moves in a circular path with a constant period. The linear speed is also constant, but tangential to the circular path at any point. The net force and the acceleration are also constant, but the acceleration and the net force are always perpendicular to the tangential velocity and point towards the center of the motion. When solving these problems, start by drawing a free body diagram. This diagram can then be used to find the net force. Note that we'd never add an extra force vector to our free body diagrams to represent the centripetal force. The centripetal force is always the net force of the forces acting on the object. Remember to set the direction of acceleration as positive, which is into the center of the circle. You can then apply Newton's second law and substitute the formulas for acceleration to solve for whatever the question is asking for. Thanks for watching.